Hello, and welcome to the Playworms. Today we shall be looking at the movie Gran Turismo.
5 years earlier, Kazunori Yamauchi wanted to create a driving simulator to make racing accessible to the whole world.
It would become known as Gran Turismo.
In Cardiff, Wales, Jan Martinborough is a big fan of the Gran Turismo video games and has saved enough to buy himself a simulator.
In Tokyo, Danny Moore, a marketing executive for Nissan, arrives at a conference where he pitches to potential investors a contest for Gran Turismo players to have a chance to be real racers for Nissan,
which would also possibly help boost car sales. After the contest is signed off on, Danny seeks out professionals to teach the racers and is turned down by everyone until he reaches his last choice.
Former racer Jack Salter. Jan later receives a message inviting him to compete in a simulated race after he played Gran Turismo at a gamer cafe.
And his score was logged in as being exceptional.
Video from Danny states that the top racers will be invited to join the newly established academy for a chance to race for real. Jan goes and chats with Audrey, who wants to travel the world. The party is broken up by cops, while Jan and Kobe's friends gets a nearby car to pass them beer, only for the two cars to bump into each other,
Gaining the attention of the police.
After the other car gets pulled over,
Jan hits the gas and drives away, leading to the police to pursue. After a brief chase, Jan is able to get the police off his tail and takes the blame for the damaged mirror.
Jan is brought to work with Steve at a rail yard. Jan leaves and rides his bike to the cafe where he manages to make it on time to sign in. He begins to outrun the other players and he finishes in first place, qualifying him for the academy. Jan gets ready to leave, but is told by Steve once again that it is dangerous. But Jan reminds him that it was he who instilled a love of driving in him at a young age. Jan arrives at the Gate Academy, including the cocky Matty Davis. They are given a not-so-motivational speech by Jack. The racers then begin to go through extensive driving exercises and physical training.
4 of them get disqualified, and Jan is in danger of being next. During a driving around with Jack, he accidentally crashes.
Despite insisting he hit the brakes, Jack later learns that the brakes were indeed faulty, so he tells Jan that another racer has been eliminated so that he may enter the final race. Jan yells in excitement! The racers get ready for the qualifying race. Jan begins the race in last place, but quickly begins to make his way up to the front.
As he gets closer to Matty, who is leading, it's a close call to the finish line.
Danny thinks Matty won, but Jack has them play the footage back to confirm that Jan won by a hair. Jan travels with Jack and Danny to Austria to compete in races to qualify for an FIA license.
He goes up against Nicky and other racers. As Jan continues the races, he starts to move up, except for one where his car is knocked off, of course by Nicky, so he doesn't even finish.
He has one more race in Dubai. During the race, Jan manages to surpass Nicky,
prompting the jerk driver to pick up too much speed to collide with another car. A tire from Nicky's car flies toward Jan's windshield, but doesn't damage it enough to prevent him from seeing. So he's able to finish 4th and gain his license.
Jan then heads to the Nürburgring track in Germany for another race. On the 6th lap, Jan manages to make it to 2nd place, just before he drives too fast going up a hill,
causing his car to flip over and go through a nasty crash.
And Jan is taken to the hospital with Jack by his side.
After Jan wakes up, Danny and Jack inform him of what happened. A spectator was tragically killed in the crash, but they assure Jan that it wasn't his fault.
Once Jan is fully recovered, Jack takes him for a drive to the spot where he crashed, and he tells Jan what ended his racing career. He lets Jan take the wheel so he can finish his lap! Jan and Jack meet with Danny, who says that the other racing teams are trying to push for the end of having sim races compete and are trying to build cases against them. They still plan to continue their competition at the 24-hour race in Le Mans with their own Nismo team, accompanied by Matty and fellow G Academy driver Antonio Cruz. At Le Mans! And it's his family, plus Audrey and other Gate Academy drivers to come support him. The race commences with Jan, Matty, and Antonio alternating driving hours. One rival driver ends up in a fiery crash. When Jan goes up to drive, he starts to lose his focus after thinking about the crash. Jack helps by playing Kenny G and Enya to help Jan get his head back in the game. On the final hour and lap of the race, Jan starts making his way to the front, having to outrace Nicky. He's able to catch up to Nicky, where they are neck racing toward the finish line until they make it there, and Jan wins.
The ending text states Jan has competed in over 200 races to date, and he even played his own stunt double in this film.
Well, here ends our today's recap. Consider sharing the video and subscribing to our channel to support our work.